if you're not watching The Penguin on Max right now, you're missing out on so much good drama, on so much good storytelling. Probably, very possibly, the best show that has been out all year. It's incredibly well done and it's very, very enjoyable. Now, I just watched episode 6 last night, and there were so many moments that were so touching, impactful, inspiring. And so I wanted to do a reaction to the behind the scenes featurette kind of thing they have post episode, where the creators talk about the details of the film. So I'm going to go ahead, react to it, and give my thoughts throughout as well as the end. So stick around. Let's do this.
Come episode 6, Sal and Sophia team up to align the powers that they have to get Oz.
It's unthinkable. The man that she was raised to believe is their number one enemy. He's so warm to her and ironically fatherly. You want this job?
Sure.
I always thought of it as a father making a grilled cheese for his daughter late at night.
Look, Lauren, this woman, this creator of the show, she is putting together something that's incredibly beautiful, something that's incredibly well crafted. And I got to say, look, as much as people want to say that if you're critical of things like The Acolyte, Star Wars, Rings of Power, all this different stuff, if you're critical of women in filmmaking, I'm just going to, it's not about the gender. It's about the quality of storytelling. And this woman truly is a master at telling a story. I don't think I've seen a lot of her stuff, but this show is amazing. It's truly incredible. It's very enjoyable, and she's put together something very beautiful.
When he finds out what happened to Nadia and Taj, his world falls apart. Sophia comes in and kind of rescues him from that pit of despair and gives him purpose again. The only thing he wants to do is kill that guy.
It's a great strategic tactic. It puts Oz on his back foot.
Which, by the way, if you guys are keeping up with the show, which I'm assuming if you're watching this, you might be keeping up with the show, last or 2 episodes ago, when Sophia takes out the whole family. And then in last episode where she kind of rises to power, it happens quickly, this bonding of the 2 families, but with the loss or destruction of both families simultaneously, it makes sense storytelling, character wise. And so I'm not mad at it. I think it's really smart, and it creates a really cool dynamic.
They're circling back near where Oz grew up in Crown Point. It's a good place to hide because sadly, no one in the city seems to care about Crown Point.
And just the whole detail with this episode where the power's out, or not getting enough power to Crown Point, and then how Oswald deals with that, and how that in itself is a very big motivation for a lot of the movements of this episode. It's brilliant. I love it.
Are you all right?
Oz is so despicable. You kind of given up hope of having any sympathy for him. And then you see him with his mom, and you see him so delicately and gently pull her out of the water. Here was an opportunity to really get to the crux of what their relationship was about.
I need you to help me. You gotta help me die.
She has to tell him that she realizes what's going on.
So you'll do it. You mean it. Because you love me.
This scene hits different.
I'll do it.
Me.
The helplessness of that for anyone, but for a woman like that, it's just horrifying.
Put the blame on me. Put the blame on me.
This scene was also extremely beautiful. I love that shot where this whole sequence, but especially like this shot, where it goes from her face like being, just got new makeup on, and then it pulls focus to his just scarred up, ugly face. It's like a beautiful canvas of their relationship, I feel like, right? It's a woman who's been hardened and hurt by life versus a guy who's, you know, chosen to pursue the rough nature of life. And the relationship between mother and son in this image is beautiful. It's like the contrast in a lot of ways. And that's not done necessarily through cinematography only. It's also in the makeup and in the subliminal messaging, like the underlying narratives that it's following. It's really cool.
The reprise of the music is something that Matt came up with. They both want to go back to an earlier part of their lives, and obviously they can't. The close-ups keep you out of the realm of reality. It kind of keeps you in the world of fantasy, even though there's the reality of his dirty fingers that you constantly see, which is, I think, a really great detail.
Yeah, it is.
That reminds me of Paulie's Diner, don't it, Ma?
When they come down to sit and have the breakfast together, there was this sense of a routine.
Ma, we ain't gonna be here much longer. Not with all the cash we got coming in. Ain't that right, Vic?
Oh yeah, big money. The writing of the scene, that was purposeful to kind of lull us into a sense of calm, like, are we watching a family discussion?
Thank you, sweetheart. You're a good boy.
Victor feels very connected to Oz and very connected to Francis. They're his new makeshift family. He's hardened a bit, carrying a gun, and he meets Squid again. He is a bad guy, always watching Victor.
Look, this character, Victor, brand new character on the scene for this franchise. I know we only have this show and the Batman movie, but this Victor kid pulls this story together so wonderfully. And I'm always like skeptical or worried when they're introducing new characters, not because you can't do it or you shouldn't do it, but literally just because it's like, are they going to be able to do the groundwork in a show called The Penguin, where there's Gotham as a character itself? Gotham's always been a character when it comes to the Batman narrative. And then you have Arkham, you have Sophia. Sophia's brought into it because she's the daughter. She's a daughter Falcone, and she was in Arkham. So there's like familiar touch points with Gotham. With Victor, he's just a poor kid, right? Being brought into this world that Oz has created or kind of yanked him into in a lot of ways. And it's super. The writing for Victor's so well done. I'm so captivated by his character. It took maybe 2-3 episodes, but I'm in, and it's great.
Yo, where you getting your money from, Victor?
He brings up Francis. He brings up knowing that he saw this older woman. He could end up harming Francis. He can end up harming the operation, end up telling Sal and Sophia where they are, and Victor cannot let that happen. When Victor tries to go to Oz, Oz is not available emotionally, so Victor knows he has to take care of the squid problem by himself.
Where your people at?
That scene, it's not covered so much in close-ups. It's a little bit wider, because you kind of want to.
I like that they have this editor guy talking about the psychology behind the cinematography and the framing and the cut choices and everything. I like that they're bringing this into it, because this is kind of what I geek about. You know, I really like the messaging of the visuals in films, and a lot of times on YouTube or in productions, that's not always talked about at great length.
See the relationship between the two. But the thing was, you know, when does Vic turn to the dark side?
He gets to that situation and it's not going the way he planned at all. Very quickly, he has to make a very big decision, and it's a huge turning point. There's really no going back now. He's taken the life of someone that he's known for years and years and years since he was a child.
I'm sorry.
And he sees him dying in front of him. That's not an easy thing to process.
Look, there's been a lot of murder moments, obviously, in stories that are dealt with in a very deep, like, human way, I guess. This scene was one of the most visceral and I don't know, introspective moments probably in cinema that I've seen when it comes to another character taking the life for the very first time of another human. and his reaction to the whole thing, the build up, the feel like he didn't really want to do it, but he felt like he had no other choice, feel like it would be expected of him to deal with the problem in this way, and it was his only option, and just how upset he is by it. I've never seen anything like this before.
At all.
And then Victor goes to Oz. There's a really beautiful, lovely, quiet moment between them.
You've done the right thing. Protected those you care about.
I think it's a really beautiful scene. Oz sort of softens up and is there for him because he knows that Victor needs that.
That actually, I think, is one of our darker moments.
It gets easier.
And it's a little bit like, welcome to this life. And the fact that he says it gets easier means that you're going to kill more and more people and you'll stop feeling what you're feeling right now. It was important to me to have Eve and Sophia meet because I always...
This is such a long video and they're going so deep into these big important scenes because there's so much stuff that was important and very well done in this episode 6 that it's like you can't just skip over this incredible cinematography and storytelling. You just can't skip over it.
I felt like that dynamic was really intriguing. Eve has always been a little afraid of Sophia and knew some of the women that died and presumed that Sophia is the one who killed them.
What? Didn't recognize me? I don't even know how I would have approached the character had that scene not be there, because it's such a sort of deconstructed version that you get to see of her that suddenly everything else has context.
Sophia feels so free at this point that I think she looks at Eve with judgment in terms of like, how sad for you that you still have to perform, that you still have to pretend to be this thing.
It was a very long scene, 5 pages, and we really wanted to make it as dynamic as possible.
5 pages.
So
if people don't know how, like, a typical 3-minute scene is like a page or a page and a half. Like 5 pages, that's a lot of content.
We used the space as best we could, and we kept it moving, and we gave Kristen a reason to move, which kind of worked with the dialogue and with what she wanted to do in the scene.
Dressing like this.
And that's also good because if you just had him sit down and have a 15-minute conversation, some films do that. I would say I've even done it, and I would say it's kind of an amateur move. Like that's very smart to approach it and be like, let's have the characters moving around. If we're going to be talking about, content, we're going to be getting to know these characters for like 15 minutes. We need to, maybe not 15 minutes. I guess he said 15 pages or 5 pages. I'm already losing it. Either way, with these long scenes, you have to be creative in how you're approaching it, because if you just sit them down and have them talk for a long time about a lot of stuff, then it can be engaging, but it's hard to keep that constantly. So having movement through the scene, having them walk around, changing position, the blocking is very specific and very motivated for the conversation. I think that's smart. That's brilliant to do it that way.
Is this for you or your client?
Depends.
Oz ever seen this version of you? Sophia gets to see Eve in a way that we've never seen her before. Completely raw, real. There's no role play happening. So she's definitely attempting, I think, to present as though this is going to be an honest exchange, while there is still part of her that's going to try her damnedest to find her way out.
Those women meant nothing to you. They were family to me.
You still think I'm the hangman? He never told you? My father killed those women. Oz knew.
And that is the turn in the scene where Kristen actually confronts her face to face for the first time. And then they finally start talking to each other.
It's quite a surprise to Eve that she's been betrayed by Oz. And I think there's this very quick recalibration as to how then to handle Sophia. Because if he's willing to throw me under the bus, then what am I doing protecting him?
You were his alibi. You knew. Not at first, but yeah. Just leave my girls alone.
That's why you asked me here, to save them from the hangman.
That's not who you are, right?
Eve and her girls, maybe the strongest family unit we have on the show.
It breaks Sophia.
The strongest family unit on the show is Eve and the other girls. That might be true for the show. I don't know. I kind of feel like Oz's love for his mom, the quick moment we have with Victor and his family and how much that sets up Victor as a character, I think that might be it.
His heart when she realizes that Eve has more of a family than she ever will, and I think it really hits home her own loneliness, and it catches her.
And I think when I see that vulnerability, there's something about the woman in me that has a moment of compassion. If I take her at her word and she isn't the hangman, then she's been no more used as I've probably been. So that puts us in the same boat.
It's two women from sort of different sides of Gotham coming together and realizing something about Oz, having a connection and a bond.
Throughout this show, they have been pitted against each other, but ultimately understand all we've got is each other as women in this sort of world.
Crown Point. You deserve your shot. But where you got that information, it'll stay between us.
So I got to make a prediction. I think Sophia, that scene is very important. And I think as much as they've set up Sophia, and Sophia so much wants to be the leader of the family and reshape the crime world in Gotham, with her as the decision maker, essentially being the one who orchestrates it, because she feels like she's had to be the victim of it so much with her father and all of the former leaders, that she wants to be the one in charge so she's not victimized, right? And in theory, she wants to say, I'm not going to victimize other people. But I think when it comes to Gotham, Gotham's just too cutthroat. If we know anything about Gotham, we know anything about Oz, everything's way too cutthroat. It just is. And the end of this episode with Oz and the other gang leaders and all the people that's outside of the two big crime families coming together and basically creating an alliance against everybody else, I just don't think she has what it takes. Not to say that she's not a very important and substantive character, or that she's not smart as a character. I just think she's not cut through. I think that scene really solidified the fact that she can't be like her father. Her father was who he was because he was willing to go there. And I think Oz is probably going to come out on top, primarily because he's willing to go anywhere. And I'm pretty sure that, it seems pretty obvious there's going to be the loss of his mom. That seems kind of obvious to me. So if that happens, if he loses his mom, he's got truly nothing or nobody that he fundamentally cares about outside of people knowing who he is and having the power. That sounds more like a motivation that's going to get the job done in a place like Gotham. And I think Sophia is a little too forgiving. She's a little too sensitive to be the kind of leader that she's ambitiously pursuing. And we'll see how it turns out. Obviously, this is setting up for the next movie. This is the bridge to the Batman Part 2 that Matt Reeves is going to be directing. Greg Fraser, the cinematographer from the first one, is going to be coming back, which is very exciting for me. And I just think they're setting up Oz to be one of the primary villain characters in the next movie, or at least maybe not even so much like the villain, but more so the foil to a lot of what Batman's trying to get done, because he's slippery, because he's smart, because of his motivations that they're setting up for in this show. So let me know what you guys think in the comments below. If you wouldn't mind subscribing to the channel, I do these reaction videos. They don't get monetized at all on the channel because it is content from other channels, from other studios and stuff. So I can't monetize them. But I put them out because I enjoy it and because, you know, I want people to become aware and to subscribe to the channel so that we can all hang out and watch it and talk about, you know, the shows like The Penguin more often. And so if you would consider subscribing to the channel, I'd really appreciate that. So you'd see more content like this, more reaction videos, as well as commentary videos in the future. I'll see you next time.